Hi, welcome to Analyze It, a YouTube channel that I designed to share, teach tips on Power BI, Python, Excel, Excel Power Pivot, and Power Query. And in this YouTube channel, I'm mainly focusing on this tool for the use of monitoring and evaluation and project management. Today, in this video, we're going to talk about Python, Power BI, and machine learning. Specifically, how we can use Python machine learning in Power BI. I will be mostly focusing on cluster machine learning algorithm in Python. Let me tell you, as you know, a couple years ago, Power BI has integrated both R and Python. And with these inclusions, this make Power BI a very and super powerful tool for analysis and visualization. Why? Because now you can benefit from all the libraries and models from Python or R to make more sense or to explore or analyze your data set. Not only you can include visualization from libraries such as Seaborn, Matplotlib, but you can also do all the data shaping, data transformation, data cleaning feature that are included in Python, and you can do it inside Power BI. More importantly, you can run machine learning using scikit-learn library. So today, I'm going to teach you how, or I'm going to show you how you can use machine learning in Power BI from Python. The purpose is not to teach you how to use Python, because you need to have a little bit of background on how to use Python code, or let's say how to write Python code. But I want to show you how you can use this code and work them into Python. Now, without too much talk, let's go to my computer and I will show you how you can do that. Okay, so now you can see that I have my Power BI open, and I have a table called data cluster, and this table is a data set which contain information about household characteristic, such as you can see I have the age of the household head, the number of people with disabilities, number of elderly people, the size of the households. These are numerical variable. I have also non-numerical variables such as the type of the house, sanitation situation, and also some couple of index here that I have in my data set. So now with that table, what I want to do, I would like to have cluster of household with similar characteristics. So one of the machine learning that I can run is basically a method called clustering. And the clustering is a type of unsupervised machine learning that identify or group similar data points in larger data sets without concern for the specific outcome. For example, in my household data set, I would like to apply segmentation, which will partition my households into groups that have similar characteristics, meaning I will have different clusters where people will be classified in either one of the clusters based on their characteristic. So this is the purpose of the clustering. And one of the popular method for that is the k-mean. So I will run the k-mean algorithm in Power BI. So now that I have my table in Power BI, remember this table is called data cluster. I just need to go and open my Power Query. And to do that, I click on transform data and transform data here. and it will open the Power Query editor for me. And now to get access to the Python, I will click transform because I want to do some transformation. And you can see I have both R and Python script. So I will be clicking on the Python script. But before that, let me remind you that to run Python script on Power BI, you need to have Python already installed in your computer or local machine. You also need to have some basic libraries such as Panda, which is a data frame library. It's a library allowing you to do transformation, data shaping, and in Python. You also need to have NumPy, which is a mathematical library. Both Panda and NumPy are most of the time required. And also because I'm gonna run some machine learning, I need to have installed scikit-learn in my local machine. So if you don't have already this library and Python installed in your computer, please look at the a video that I did on who teach how to install this library and as well Python. These are required for running Python script in Power BI. So now let's click on run Python script. And you can see the Python script editor is open, and read the first sentence. It says dataset holds the input data for this script. What does this mean? It means the table we had and that we call data cluster, now Python has holds the data as data set. So that means whenever you're typing a Python script or a Python code that make reference or where you need to mention the data set, you need to use data set. You should not type data cluster. You should type data set. This is very important. The second thing that I would like to recommend you is that you can start typing code here in your Python script editor, but I would not recommend you to go straight and typing code in this editor. Why? Because if you have an issue, if you have a bug, it will be harder for you to identify where you did the mistake or how to correct it. So the best practice for me is to type my Python code in an IDE, what we call Integrated Development Environment, which is a platform for you to type and develop your code. So this is what I usually recommend. Type your code into an IDE and then copy and paste it into this Python editors. So I usually use Spider, which is an IDE for developing Python code. As you can see, I already developed my K-mean algorithm in Spider. As I mentioned earlier, the purpose of this video is not to teach you how to type Python code, rather than how you can use this code that I already typed in an IDE and bring it into Power BI. But let me give you a quick overview of this code. The first thing that I did, and as I mentioned, even if you have already imported Panda and some pre-processing library, you need to mention it in your IDE. So for example, you see that I already imported Panda, and then I imported scikit-learn here, which is an important library because I need to pre-process my data. And I imported two models, standard scalar and label encoder. I need these two models. And then because I'm using an IDE, I have to read my data set. But this part here is not necessary when you don't need to import it in Power BI. The first pre-processing task that I did is that I convert all the numerical all the non-numerical variable into numerical. Remember, when we were in Power BI, we had some variable here that were not numerical. So in order to run a k-mean algorithm, you need to convert all of these all of these variable as non-numerical. So this is what I'm doing here. For example, the sex of the household, the IPC, sanitation, all of these were non-numerical variables. So I need to transform them. So this is what I'm doing here. And the second pre-processing is normalizing. So that means I need to put all the variable in my data set on the same scale. So this is what I am doing here. And lastly, I'm running my k-mean algorithm. And and here you can see that I want to have 3 groups of beneficiary or household. But you can increase it by 4 by typing 4, depending on what you want to do. And then once I finished to run my k-mean cluster algorithm, I need to assign individual to each cluster, such as me, I can pertain to cluster 1, 2, or 3, but it will classify me in a specific cluster based on my characteristic. All right, so the only thing that you need to do is just select everything, Control C, and open your Power BI query. All right, I have a small issue. All right, and type it and copy it here. But remember, at the beginning, it says dataset holds the input of the data. So I don't need that part here where I'm reading my data set. So I have to delete it. All right. So one thing I want you to note as well in the Spider, when I was developing my Spider, is that when I'm making reference to the data set, which is I used the word data set, I'm not using data cluster because Python, the Python script editor said that. So now once I'm done, I can click OK. And it says information is required about data privacy. I said continue. And I have the privacy linear, I can just ignore it. Click here and say save. And it keeps running. It's going to take a little bit of time. All right, so now you see that it has created a table for you. And you just click the table. All right, so if you go at the end, you can see this is my cluster. So I have 3 clusters. So you can see I have cluster 0, cluster 1, and cluster 3. So it's because when I was running my script here, I said I want 3 clusters, right? But if you had put 4, you will get 0, 1, 2, 3. Remember, Python start always with 0. So now that I have assigned each individual to its cluster based on the similarity in the characteristic, I just need to apply it because I'm still on the Power Query. All right, so I can open my Power BI and you see it has assigned each individual to a specific cluster. For example, I have 3 clusters, 0, 1, 0, 1, and 2. So this is the beauty of using Python in Power BI. Now we can do some visualization, and let's do that right now. For example, well, let's see how many people we have in each cluster. And to do that, we will need to go in Power Query to do some data shaping. All right, so we can see how many people we have or how many households we have in each cluster. So, but before doing our, we're gonna do some some pie chart, but before doing that, we need to do some data shaping or transformation. And so let's go to our Power Query, and now we are in our Power Query. We need to create a unique ID for each row, so that we will ask Power BI to make a chart to count the number of unique person or household in each cluster. To do that, we're going to add a column, and we're going to add an index. So we will start the index from 1. So that means each row will have a specific number, and Power BI will start assigning a number from the number 1 to the end of our data set. So let's add this. Click from 1, and then you see it has created an index. So it has assigned a unique number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x to each row. So now we need to apply this change. Say apply. All right, so now we can go in our desktop. We can go to our desktop here, and then we will click on pie chart. Let me make it bigger for you. I can here. All right, so what I want to do, I want to count. I want to have a pie chart telling me how many people I have in each cluster. So the legend that I want is the cluster. I just bring cluster variable here in the legend, and in the value I will bring the index. And as you can see, it says, let me make it bigger for you. So it says, for example, I have 74% of my, I made a mistake. I need to, it has sum, but I just need to remove the sum and say count, distinct count. Okay, so now I have 73% of my household classified in cluster 1, and 4.5% in cluster 2, and 21% in cluster 1. Okay, but you can also add other visual. For example, if I want to know what is the average household size for each cluster, I can just add a card, and bring the age of the household, or let's say the size, household size, because it is a numerical variable. I will bring it here, but it's still, I need to change it. I don't want to be the sum. I need the average. All right. So this is the average of my total data set. But I can add a slicer, right? I can add the slicer here, and we'll slice by cluster. So I need to just bring the cluster here. All right. So whenever I want to have information household size, you see, the household size of my cluster number 1 people in cluster 1 is 4.7. In cluster 0, it's 4.5. In cluster 2, it's 4.2. I can also select what is the average of people in cluster 0 and cluster 1. I just click 0, control, and click, and automatically it will give you the household size. All right, this is the beauty of Power BI working with Python. You can do a lot of great things. You can boost your analysis. You can boost your understanding of your beneficiaries, your client. If you like this video, please give me a thumb up and don't forget to subscribe. And if I will attach I'm attaching at the bottom of this video the support document where I'm copying and pasting the code for the that I use, and also you can have pasting you the URL for the dataset that I'm using, so you can practice and repeat this video. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for another one.